how do we know? Like, I don't believe it.
Are you a Chris Cole fan, like as a skater, or were you?
Oh, growing up, big time.
But like, who is he?
I'm caught up because you said the handrail part. Did you mean just down the stair set, or do you mean talking about skating like a rail?
I don't know. Actually, a great comparison. Drake. People love Drake. I think he's a pathetic sad boy.
And it's obscenity, actually, not porn.
Classic. Why did I think that was pronounced Fallon? You're getting a little too deep for the non-skaters.
All right, we are back for episode 4 of the Skatewives podcast, and hopefully now these episodes are up and running on podcast platforms. So if you don't want to sit there and watch the YouTube video, you can listen elsewhere as well.
But the YouTube video is fun.
The YouTube video is fun. We're working on a little set here, studio situation.
In case we talk geography?
We are going to get rid of that globe soon,
No. If we're talking geography, I need a reference.
That's an outdated map. It doesn't even have South Sudan. So.
Oh, and it's not even Myanmar. Yikes.
It's Burma, yeah.
Yeah, oof. And look, it's still the Gulf of Mexico.
Okay.
All right, sorry.
All right.
Sorry. I joke.
Okay, whatever. Anyway, okay, so we've got things to talk about here. So we can jump right into probably the hottest item. So you've been asked in the comments
Many
on
times.
a different video, actually on all kinds of videos over months now, to weigh in on the Chris Cole stuff. And
my response was, who is Chris Cole?
Yeah, yeah. And then we watched the Gifted Hater video, I don't know, over the weekend or recently.
Quick pause.
So
I love Gifted Hater. Fantastic video. Kind of not my favorite visual of his videos, but very well done. That's
okay.
it. I just want to shout out. I was a big fan.
So you liked the video?
I like the video, and I like Gifted Hater.
Okay.
Joa?
Yeah.
Big fan.
Okay, great. So we watched that, and I don't know. What do you have? Do you have comments? Do you have thoughts?
Yeah. Whitney Cummings, I thought maybe she could be funny when she had Miranda Cosgrove on her podcast a while ago, and they seemed to be friends. Then, on a somewhat recent episode of Kill Tony, she made a gorilla joke about Michelle Obama, and like, not funny, not a good joke, if that's what you're gonna say, and clearly we don't have the same perspective on humans. So I wrote her off.
So I actually went back and re-listened to that part of that episode.
Yeah.
It was like August 5th. It was an August episode, August 2024 episode of Kill Tony with Whitney Cummings as one of the guests on there. And the context was they were making fun of a guy who had just performed his set, if you're familiar with the format of Kill Tony. They were making fun of this guy who just performed the set, and he had super hairy arms. And she just goes kind of out of the blue, like there wasn't context in talking about the Obamas or anything, but she said, your arms are hairier than Michelle Obama's. And yeah, it was kind of jarring, and I think I interpreted that as something with probably pretty significant racial undertones of it being an ape joke. And then I went and Googled actually like Michelle Obama's arms, because I was wondering is this a thing? Like, does she have hairy arms?
No, she's known for having the sickest arms of not only any first lady, but most women her age.
Exactly, yeah.
She's known for being...
Like, that's what comes up when you search Michelle Obama arms.
Yeah.
And it's like 2009 articles of like, can you believe she's wearing a sleeveless dress? Like, simpler times, right?
That's when everyone was mad at Obama for wearing a tan suit.
Yeah, but anyway, it was just, the Whitney Cummings comment was like very off-putting, and then I kind of checked recently, like, did we just remember this oddly? And it was totally like off-the-fly comment.
Just a comment she thought would be funny. It wasn't. It was bad. Anyways, fast forward to this Chris Cole thing.
Yeah, so if connect Whitney Cummings to this.
Okay. So Whitney Cummings is dating Chris Cole, who is allegedly a wife beater. Where should I go from here? Whitney Cummings is dating Chris Cole, and I hope for her sake, what is being alleged that he did to his first wife is not and will not happen to her. I really do hope that. I also hope that she would get her nose out of the business with his ex-wife. She looks like a total idiot trying to insert herself, calling his kids, responding to comments, sticking up for him, making some of the most cringeworthy posts I've ever seen of any couple ever on the internet. And there are a lot of really cringy couples on the internet. She's taking him...
We would know.
We would know. We're on that list. She's taking Chris Cole on the podcast circuit because she is a comedian, so she does have the connects. And it is embarrassing for her to be involved. It's embarrassing for her to be backing him up to the extent that she is. Part 2 is Chris Cole allegedly has been in this abusive relationship. And from my understanding, his ex-wife has not been trying to ruin his career. She's just trying to have her story heard and believed. In fact, it seems like even Chris Cole's friends that she's friends with, she's not asking them to stop being friends. But what is really interesting is that the skate community is not really doing anything about it, which isn't that surprising because unfortunately we don't really believe women a lot.
Well, and on top of that, the skate community, until Gifted Haters started kind of poking at the ribs of the skate industry has not had to answer to anyone. The media in the skate industry is all in and for and of the skate industry. So, like, it's not like you have ABC 7 asking questions or asking tough questions. It's like, read a Thrasher interview. They're not
I've read them.
Terribly
kind of
challenging questions. They're like, hey, where are you? How you doing?
What'd you have for lunch today?
What was the new project like? And it's like, yeah, so I mean, Gifted Haters, the first one where like, the first time the industry has actually had to kind of answer or be challenged or stay silent, which is what the industry's done on this one. But
yeah, and it's particularly interesting. The industry has chosen to stay silent, or, you know, our good friend Nyjah Houston, whatever. Our good friend Nyjah, you know, recently posted a reel, a video, whatever you call these things, and the caption was something, and he tagged Chris Cole, and it's like, oh, interesting move.
Technically, he tagged him in a comment, but
that's actually different. I thought it was the caption. It doesn't matter. Anyways, it's interesting because that's a choice. That's a choice to kind of publicly shout out Chris Cole, who's an alleged abusive man. But what's not surprising about it is, like, all of these guys are like, oh, well, we don't really know. Like, we didn't know he was treating her that way. We didn't really know. And it's like, of course you didn't know. The internet is full of memes about how men go and hang out and don't find out any personal details about each other. Men have no details. They don't ask questions. So they're just blissfully ignorant, being like, Chris Cole seems nice enough to me, so, like, I don't have an issue with him. Like, that's crazy. That is crazy. And then the question is like, well, what if she's making it up? Do you know how crazy it would be to just go rogue and make something up like that? But you know what happens all the time? Men are like, that is crazy, stay away from her. And then she gets blackballed by, like, an entire group of people. It happens all the time to women, but not to men. That's how I feel.
okay.
Not very coherent, but that's how I feel. Yeah, it's I don't think it's actually all that complicated, quite frankly. The Chris Cole situation. It's not that complicated.
It doesn't change anything about what he's alleged to have done. It doesn't. It offers an explanation as to what may be happening under the hood, but it shouldn't change the situation as it's playing out at all, I don't think. It just offers an explanation.
Yeah, no, I'm more just saying the overall Chris Cole situation is not complicated.
Right.
His ex-wife has alleged that he has abused her. She has pulled up a ton of receipts. They have not been matched with receipts that shut down her narrative.
I mean, the only thing he has said is he has a Instagram story highlight that just says statement, and it basically says, it's the one that says you shouldn't bring your child into this. It doesn't confirm anything. It doesn't acknowledge anything.
What a pathetic defense.
Yeah. It's not a defense. It's not a defense.
It's a deflection.
His statement is,
Don't bring
I wish my wife would be, or my ex-wife would be quiet, is effectively what it is.
So,
which is not a statement.
Yeah, so first of all, I don't think the situation is complicated at all. What's complicated is that people do not believe women. And statistically, across the board, women are getting beat up, abused by the hands of the people they married or are related to. That is, it's not some, oh, maybe not. No, look at the stats. Women are getting throttled by men consistently. So like, it's not like a, well, that's really unlikely. It's actually quite likely. It's quite likely. I am most likely to be harmed by you.
Statistically.
Yeah.
Not.
Statistically speaking, right? So it's not complicated. There is a claim. There can be an investigation. There's no request for Chris Cole's accolades to be removed. There's no request for his friends to stop hanging out with him. There's only a request for an acknowledgement that this person has a personality, like all of us, which is complex, potentially developed and evolved through CTE over time. He can still be a fantastic skater while also maybe being a bad guy. And maybe he's not always a bad guy. It's not that complicated. It's not complicated. People are like, what are your thoughts? It's not complicated. He seems like he may have beat up his ex-wife and he's hiding behind his rich and famous girlfriend now. That's what it seems like. If he's your favorite skater, that's fine. Just, if someone were my favorite celebrity, favorite athlete, I would want to know all the ins and outs about them. Actually, a great comparison. I'm sorry. Drake. People love Drake. I think he's a pathetic sad boy, but like, people love Drake. If you love Drake, you should know there are a lot of compelling rumors that he has a thing for underage girls. You don't need to stop listening to his music, but you should know that.
Are those rumors substantiated?
I have not done my own research, but like, you know Millie Bobby Brown?
Yeah.
11. When she was like 14 or 15, she was on Jimmy Fallon, I think, and she was like, yeah, Drake and I text sometimes. And everyone was like, oh.
Yeah, that's odd.
Yeah, and she's like, he just gives me advice. And everyone's like, but why is Drake, a mid-30s, late 30s man, texting 11 from Stranger Things?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's weird. So anyways, I don't think it's complicated. I think we should honestly take women a little more seriously, not just because I am one, but because statistically, we're not lying.
And I also would say, like, I mean, I would give a lot of shout out to Gifted Hater for sticking his neck out there, because I realize that he's made, I mean, his career on doing that, but that one is serious, and like,
he did a good job.
Yeah, but you're really walking out on a limb doing that in the skate industry. Nobody has done it before, and that takes a lot of guts, and is probably a scary video to make. So,
I'm sure it was a scary video. Yeah. Props to him. Yes, I'm sure it was a scary video, and like he talked about it. It took him years to actually get it together, and
not yeast.
A year and a half.
This all started coming out like last May, maybe.
Yeah, but
May
he was
24.
I think he said it. Whatever. Don't need to debate that. But like, it's your choice who you want to hang out with, and whether or not you care that who people are. That's your choice.
Okay. Should we change subject?
Yeah. Okay. I'm done.
Okay, do you want to jump into Lakai? So we don't have to spend a ton of time on Lakai. We did a video probably 2 or 3 months ago now, going into some of the drama that happened with Lakai back in October, and the change of ownership and the whole team getting kicked off, and the history of Lakai as a company and how they got there and yada yada.
And
so if you're curious about what's happened previously, go check that video out.
And recently, I've gotten a few DMs / comments. Yeah. I brought it up to you. That's why this is on the agenda, is because I was like,
I put it on otherwise.
Oh, well, I've been getting questions of like, well, explain why Lakai now has these new riders, names I don't remember.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a great question. I'll have to find out and get back to you.
So Lakai, so this guy Luis Mora, who is a skateboard filmer, and he has a YouTube channel that actually is very, very popular. And I think he lives in Japan. I think he's been in Japan for a while now. Maybe he's half Japanese. I'm not certain about that.
What's his name?
Luis Mora.
Okay.
And he has a huge YouTube following. He's a skate filmer, and he has joined Lakai and is kind of running the skate side. I believe he has said that he's gotten some amount of equity or ownership stake in Lakai. I don't know what amount that would be or what percentage that would be or what that would be worth, but he is
Involved.
Enough to claim a partial owner or whatever. And so he's going to do the skate side, and that guy Mark, who bought it, is going to do the business side. And so Luis put on, I don't know, 5 or 6 riders maybe. He got like Bastian Salbanzi as the legend, and Bastian is probably 40. Grew up, it's a European guy, grew up in France, I think. But he was like in the flip videos back in the early 2000s. And then they got, I don't even know who else, a couple of other riders. Newer kind of known names, and then he has like a no-name guy out of Japan that he's trying to give a shot to, which is cool. And that, you know, I hope it's successful. I hope it can revive the brand, and that would be awesome. I think that based on the riders that he's selected, it wouldn't and part of this is based on what I remember about looking into Mark's businesses and where he has done well, is they're probably targeting more of a Europe market and the Asia Pacific market as well. And that, I think, is evidence. One, Luis Mora is based in Japan. They put on, I think, 2 Japanese riders, maybe 3. Bastian Salbanzi is European. I think another guy they put on is also European, and maybe it was 1 American skater, and I'm not even positive about that. So it feels to me like it's going to be a little bit more of a Europe, Asia Pacific push. So
cutting the team and then bringing on these people, it's just like a rebrand.
It's total rebrand. Yeah.
Got it.
Well, or would you call it a rebrand, or would you just call it like a revamp? In that the idea, the reason is, you want to rely on the Lakai name, which has value, as opposed to start over from scratch with a totally new shoe company and a totally new name. You could do that,
but it'd be harder. So you can jump onto the name recognition that Lakai already has, even though the entire underbelly of the company is completely different from the Lakai you knew 5 years ago. So that's the idea, and that happens with skate companies. They like Fallen used to be a whole thing in the 2000s, and then it died and was gone for a couple years, and then it has come back more recently. Why did I think that was pronounced Fallon?
I don't know.
That's
Fallen, yeah. So there's precedent for it. Like Alien Workshop kind of did something similar, I think, where that brand died and then they came back with new riders and whatnot. And part of the reason they don't bring back the same team is because that team is typically, especially the highly coveted like pros who are killing it, they're going to get scooped up by other companies because they're relevant and you want them on your team. So you can't just go back to what you had before because those options aren't available. Like those guys have new sponsors now.
Yeah, but like, why bother cutting them in the first place?
Well, Mark made a bad business decision.
Yeah, Mark seems like a dweeby dummy.
Yeah, and that's where I think like So Luis is going to do the skate side. Mark's going to still do the business side. Again, I hope it's successful. I don't wish any ill will on it. My gut tells me it's going to last somewhere between 6 months to a year and not work. And my guess as to why it won't work is the relationship between Luis and Mark goes sour. And really, I'm just inferring that based on looking at Mark's LinkedIn profile and presuming what kind of a person he is, seeing the podcast episode that he did, and seeing how he responded to all this stuff. He just handled that so epically poorly that I really don't think he is going to be a good partner to work with, nor take the skate side seriously when dollars are slipping away and he's being asked to reinvest those dollars into the culture of the brand. I don't see that being the case, but I hope I'm wrong.
It's funny that like a good way to say you're bad at business is just calling yourself a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah, in a way.
That's Mark.
That's funny.
I mean,
Serial. Yeah, you're right. Wildly successful people definitely don't call themselves serial entrepreneurs. I don't know if marginally successful people might call themselves serial entrepreneurs or not, but hey, you take enough shots, one of them's going to go in.
you hope. And for Mark, he's still waiting.
Well, I don't know. We'll see.
All right, I'll stop trashing on him.
Yeah, you gotta leave the people with something slightly positive, man.
Well, it's exciting that all these new people are on the new Lakai team.
It is. And
it's a great new opportunity for skateboarders.
Yeah, I think Luis Morris seems like he will try his best to do a good job with it, and that's all skateboarding can ask for.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm totally positive. I'm just not a big fan of dweeby dummy culture vultures coming in thinking they know how something works, and instead of learning how it works, deciding to act like they know and just continuing to demolish it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, should we move to our last topic?
Pumpkin soy latte. Pumpkin spice latte.
Yeah, you keep saying the soy.
Yeah, in fact, I'm pretty sure I emailed them and referenced pumpkin soy latte instead of pumpkin spice latte. So
what are you talking about?
we're talking about the Professional Skateboarding League.
Yeah, I would say I thought the marketing for the PSL was actually pretty good, because for the week leading up to it, it seemed to be all over my YouTube feed and Instagram feed. But other people said that they didn't market it well, so I don't really know. But I saw it everywhere.
It wasn't anywhere on my Skatewives feed.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know about it until you told me.
Well, it was a contest for skateboarding with a what's being dubbed as a new format, and I listened to Mike Moe on a couple of podcasts talk about like being really jazzed up about how stoked he is on the new format, and he's really excited about it, and it's super new and we've never seen anything like it before. And it kind of confused me, because in reading what the format is, it's a game of skate. It's like a team game of skate basically. And I had a tough time understanding why he was so jazzed up about it, but it was also basically just team skate, which like I've played at the skate park growing up. But then I watched his he sat down by himself, not on a podcast, and just kind of talked at the camera for a half hour, and he coded like the scoreboard and scoring system for it with all the ins and outs. And that's when it clicked to me. He has been so intimately involved in like setting up the scoreboard, and you know, when you enter something here, here's how it shows up on the real thing, and that explains completely like how he would get super jazzed up on a format that actually, I would argue, isn't terribly new, but he's really excited about it, and it's because he's been working on this coding project for a while, which I think projects like that, like trying to get functions to work on Excel sheets, it feels very similar to skateboarding to me, in that like you're trying something over and over and over again and troubleshooting it until it works, and then it feels like you're landing a trick. So I now get completely why he's describing it that way, even though it is kind of just a game of skate. he also said in that podcast, very upfront, I'm not trying to be creative here. Like, I'm trying to dumb down skateboarding to where it is a very objective game that general public can appreciate, similar to basketball. Did it go in the hoop or not? Baseball, did you cross home plate or not? Football, did you get it into the end zone or not? He's trying to dumb it down to that. So anyway.
Yeah, I was...
I'll let you jump in.
It's maybe not a new format of a game in skateboarding, but it is a new format of a competition.
The Barracks has done like big bracket style games of skate before.
Oh,
But
I
in
didn't know that.
but in terms of like making it like a league and having a real team component to it,
Yeah.
and then having you do it downstairs, and offense has like 3 tries, and it's kind of set up like rounds or innings. That is different. It's, I guess the challenge I have with it is like it's not a super far stretch from what has already existed, but in watching it in practice, it did feel very different than watching a Barracks game of skate.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, you're the target audience for it.
I am the target audience, and I heard skaters thought it was boring. I understand that. I feel like everyone disregarded the billion disclaimers given of like, this is our first time, we're figuring out the kinks, and every skater everywhere was like, boring, boring. Too harsh. Boring, boring. But yeah, I mean, it was boring at first because like we're watching the first match and like the first round of the first match, and I was like, oh no, this is gonna take a while. Like they overdid it with the number of rounds per match. But then it worked itself out, and it turned out to be great. Here's what I liked about it. The slow-mo, because I don't actually know what tricks look like, so I actually could see, did they do whatever trick that they were trying to do? Or I could see, you know, what they were doing. I don't know if it was the trick they were supposed to do, but I could see it. I liked that it was a funny kind of like even level, like a leveling ground, because not all of those skaters are like big stair skaters. What would you call that? Big stair skaters?
Gap skaters.
Gap skaters.
Yeah.
I liked that it had like kind of like underdog vibes on every single team. Like it was like they were clearly matched so that there was like someone who in theory is stronger and then like a less known person. They both might be equal competency, maybe not for some of those teams, but like it was just like the name recognition was kind of staggered, which I liked. Big fan of Art. He was my favorite. Big fan of Art. He just seemed so fun. And he was good. He kept whipping them out.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was doing really well. And what else did I liked the personality. Like, I feel like whenever I've sat through other skate competitions, people are really somber.
Yeah.
And this one, everyone's like, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
And like, or like, oh, what do you think? Can we, I don't know, you know? And so you were watching very real time of like, oh, how are we going to strategize about this? What can we actually do? Is this going to work? And then, sorry, I have a lot to say. What I also liked was you were like, whoa, I didn't know Jamie Foy could do that. Or like, whoa, the pop shove it, blah, blah, blah. And so like, it was interesting for me to watch, to be watching and hear your shock at like, I didn't know Jamie Foy could do that. Meanwhile, like I'm sitting here being like, Jamie Foy can do everything. What are you talking about? You know?
And he did a perfect nollie heel and a really good frontside flip down the set. And I'm like, both of those are crazy. Never seen that from him.
Yeah, and like I just assumed he's El Doble Sodi right now. Like he can, why wouldn't he be able to do that? But I didn't realize that no one had seen him do that. And so it made it fun because there was clearly some wow factors for the skaters watching.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you got to see skaters do tricks that you'd never see them try. Like Nigel trying to pop shove at the set.
Yeah, that's what I liked, is that like it wasn't like I came up with this line and this is what I'm doing. It was like, everyone show me your best pop shove it.
Yeah.
And like, guess what? They can't land them. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. So you enjoyed it?
I think, yes, for now. I think like if this is geared towards getting non-skaters interested in understanding skateboarding, like I had a lot of context questions that weren't answered. So I would honestly suggest on that like panel of people who talk about it, you need a non-skater.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I did think, one, I thought Clint Peterson, fantastic broadcaster voice.
Which one is he?
He was on, if we were looking at the broadcasters, he was on the far left.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if he does broadcasting. I know Sean Malto does Street League broadcasting, so that makes sense. But Clint Peterson, his voice was fantastic. I thought he was really good. That would be interesting having a non-skater on there, or more so, I thought the skaters, like, and again, like you said, it was an exhibition, first time they've done it, but they did go maybe a little too niche with some of their jokes if they're trying to get a non-skate audience in. But I also think part of the what they were trying to do in producing this exhibition match was see if the skate community was bought in and accepts it. And I do think it was mixed. I think that the core skate community, similar to how the core skaters don't care about contests really ever anyway, I similarly don't think that this one is really going to tickle their fancy much. But people might watch it from time to time. I think the main section that they're looking for is like kids who are looking for something to look up to, and then people who skate occasionally.
Yeah.
Especially like grew up skating and now, you know, they're not going to sit through these video parts and like they don't know what video parts to watch. Maybe they'll watch Thrasher videos, but this gives something that they could watch with non-skate friends, because presumably most of their friends these days are non-skaters and they like to ride around, you know, once a month or so. And now all of a sudden they're like the subject matter. They're like the guy who used to play high school football where you're watching a football game and you can ask them questions about it. Like that, that is a great demographic and probably a pretty large demographic, I would assume, that this league is kind of primed to go after.
I think it can capture skaters as a non-skater. I'll just go out on a limb and say that because, like, I mean, I don't know, like, people will dial in to see, name your favorite skater, skate a 10-stair handrail in a game of skate. Like that, like you would dial in just to watch a few things of that, being like, I didn't know he could do that, or she.
Well, I'm caught up because you said the handrail part. Did you mean just down the stair set, or do you mean talking about skating like a rail?
I don't know, a rail. I was talking about, like, because my understanding is it's always a different obstacle thing.
No, I think they're planning on just doing stair sets.
At P-rods?
I don't know if it'll always be P-rods, but just stair sets. And part of the reason that they explained that was most pros of that caliber, whatever the trick is, even if they can't do that trick, they're still going to be able to try it pretty safely down a stair set.
That makes
Whereas
sense.
like certain rail tricks, you'd be like, no, I'm not trying that.
Yeah.
I'll die.
Got it.
If like you don't have that trick.
Got it. Okay.
They've talked about like we can introduce those at some point, but I don't think that's the focus.
Interesting. Well, yeah. Okay, well, whatever. I still think, like, if your favorite skater is in that competition, you're going to watch clips from it.
Yeah.
A few clips.
Yeah.
And, like, also, I don't know if this is the intention, but ripe for sports gambling.
Yeah, it makes it way more uniform. You can gamble on Street League. Like,
really?
Yeah, there's lines. I don't know if it's draft. I think it's DraftKings maybe. But this... Yeah, it's hard to gamble on a subjective thing. Actually, in the Olympics, there was 2 states. I think it's Massachusetts and maybe Louisiana. Hopefully, I got one of those right. But there's 2 states in the U.S. that during the Olympics you couldn't gamble on judged sports in those states, even though sports gambling is legal in those states.
Oh, interesting.
And so, like, that's a thing. I think that the degree to which you can get judging removed from a sport makes it way more valuable from a sports gambling perspective. And that seems to be where the value of sports has gone, is what can it do from a gambling perspective. So for better or for...
I'm not necessarily pro, but I'm just saying that's helpful. I also, like that was like the judging of like, is this a make or not? Like that was fun. Yes. That'll get people riled up.
That needs to be more clearly defined.
Yeah.
Because like, what is excessive toe drag or hand drag? I don't know.
I mean, some of those were excessive. Even I would say that.
Right, but like, where is the line exactly?
Yeah,
and
then 2 fingers?
And how do you like type out a rule that defines that line? I have no clue.
Or is it like porn? You know it when you see it.
The other thing I was thinking is like...
Come on, that was a good joke.
That was a good joke.
Thank you.
And it's obscenity, actually, not porn.
Classic.
But if... the other one I was thinking of is like stance. The general public, like... I know which stance skaters are. And I know, like, I could look back at older footage and figure out which stance they are if it's confusing now. And so I'm just imagining a scenario like somebody enters a contest as, I'm regular.
Yeah.
And some non-skater is like, well, how do we know that they're regular? And the skaters would all be like,
because he's regular.
He's regular, like you can tell. That looks like a switch heel and this is a regular heel, like I can tell. And the non-skater would be like, yeah, but like, how do we know? Like, I don't believe it. Like, and I'm just trying to think through, like, how do you define how a skater has to enter their stance? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of what would be helpful is like each skater like has like a little skater card, right? And so it's like Nyjah Houston or whatever, like stance. Maybe some stats about him.
Right, and Nyjah's goofy, but like, what if Nyjah decides to write regular?
Wouldn't someone... No, but Nyjah doesn't get to decide. PSL makes the card.
So the league decides which stance you are.
Well, but like...
No, that could work.
I mean, it's like in baseball. If you're a righty pitcher, like, I know some people are ambidextrous for hitting or other things, but like, you know which one is the dominant.
But however, in this scenario, it'd be like, if let's say you're really goofy.
Yeah.
And you say, I'm going to enter this contest as a regular stance skater. All of a sudden, your normal kickflip is a switch flip.
I know, you're getting a little too deep for the non-skaters.
Yeah, no, I know.
I know.
But I'm just envisioning a pretty niche scenario when somebody would kick and scream. That's probably not relevant for a while.
No, it's definitely not relevant for a while, and it's definitely not relevant until this league becomes so incredibly valuable that it's worth it to create a fuss about something like that.
That's true.
Anyways, my point being, I'll keep watching. I think skaters should check in, but I do think that, like, kids, the person who only kind of skates, and then, like, I think, you know, shorts, like reels, TikToks, and everything from PSL will do very well amongst skaters. But, like, for me, Skatewives, for every skater who has a partner who begrudgingly suffers through a bunch of skate videos, if you want them to slowly understand what the heck you're talking about, PSL is actually, I think, has the potential to be a bridge or part of a bridge for that gap.
Yeah. What I'm very curious about, and we're gonna do, I think, a video on this sooner than later, is my dad is like the biggest sports fan I know, in terms of he could just plop down in front of the TV and is like within 2 minutes actively yelling at the TV.
It's unbelievable.
Some team that he has no affiliation with.
I've never met anyone that actually yells at the TV the way your dad does. It's incredible.
I would be very curious if this is something that he can A, understand, and B, get behind in a short period of time. And I think he would be a great test subject for this thesis of Mike Mose.
I bet he says get stoked at least 4 times.
We could put up a counter or something.
Yeah, probably.
All right, so that's the PSL, that's Chris Cole, and that is the Lakai situation. Yeah,
kind of a stacked agenda.
Yeah.
Didn't get to talk about the Grammys or the Met Gala theme that just came out, but that's fine. No one seems to care.
Do you want to sneak those in the last 2 or 3 minutes here, or do you want to save them for next time?
I can save them for next time. I didn't do it. I didn't watch the Grammys, which I'm full of regret about. But there were some not controversial, but some things that surprised me. I was pleased, but I was surprised, and I wasn't sure they were the right call. And then the Met Gala theme is going to be really good. It's like, I think it's called Tailored to You, but it's focused on menswear, which means it's going to be so good. The suits, the tailoring is going to be fantastic. I can't wait. I literally cannot wait. I texted multiple people about it.
You always have loved a great tailoring job.
I know you're saying that.
Never talked about tailoring ever.
But being able to get your clothes tailored is like a dream come true. They would fit you perfectly.
Okay, yeah. So in conclusion, check out our Patreon so that we can afford to get Emily's clothes tailored, because then they can fit perfectly.
It's true.
And with that,
we're out.
We've wrapped up another episode.
Oh, try it again. Why are you coming like this? I'm going down. I'm going down.
All right, cheers. Cheers, partner.
You ever shake hands before, bro?